Hi guys, it's Princess Honeypot here, or 30 Bluebell 30, as you'll be following me on Instagram hopefully if you're watching this. I've got a different type of video for you today and I'm going to get straight in. So I am doing an advent calendar video. So first one I've got is the Cadbury's White, which has got a really cool snowman on it. I quite like white chocolate. And you've got some holly behind him on his hat, and he's got green gloves, cute red and white scarf, and 4 buttons. And as you can see, it's Cadbury's White Chocolate. It says bringing you a chocolate Christmas. So let's start with finding number 1. Now let's see, anyone spot number 1? I think I might have it. I think it's right here. So first I'm going to enjoy this. So, anyone else have difficulty opening the doors on advent calendars? And we've got a cute little polar bear, or white teddy bear. He's very cute there. And I've got a, what is that? Oh, we've got a little reindeer. So there he is. So anyway, he's gone. Right. I actually got my cute little Mickey Mouse tree here. I got from Primark last year. Very small. You can't actually see it. I don't know where to put it where you can see it. So anyway, this behind. I've got this other amazing advent calendar that my mum bought me. I've seen this one before. And it is a Minnie Mouse, rose gold Minnie Mouse. It's very, very pretty. It says Merry Christmas. And it's a jewellery advent calendar. So I'm really excited to open this one. And it was £6 from Primark. Obviously we got this before the lockdown. I really like her bow. How pretty is that? So, oh, I think I can see number 1 because it's right there. So we'll get straight into number 1. Oh, what we got in here then? I can't get hold of it. Oh, how pretty is that? Look, guys. We've got a beautiful rose gold, and it's a, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you. It is a mini rose gold bow. It's got little diamantes on it. That is very cute. But I really like that. I do love costume jewellery anyway, but how pretty is that with the pink beads? So yeah. So that's that one. We'll pop that one down there. Obviously, there's no picture because it's just a jewellery one. So, oh look, poor Minnie. I'm gonna have to shut that because I can't have her mouth. That's just mean. Look, she won't be able to smell or taste. She'll be just like me. Right. So we'll close her up like that. There we go. Okay, and then lastly, which is the reason that I wanted to do this video for, is I got the amazing Disney Storybook Advent Calendar, and it was £20 and I got it for £9.99 from WH Smith's. And you can see down here it says 2020 edition with festive content, and it says countdown to Christmas with 24 festive books. You've got loads of amazing characters on here. We've got the alien from Toy Story, Belle in a beautiful Christmassy dress, or the Something There dress. We've got the Onward characters, Barley and Ian, Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket, Olaf, Anna, Elsa, one of the puppies, I think that's Lucky, and we've got some candy canes, then we've got Sally, and we've got Eve and Wally, we've got Mike, we've got Ralph, Vanellope, another puppy, that's Rolly. We've got Buzz and Woody. And yeah, I think that's everyone on there. Have I missed anyone? I think I've missed anyone. And I'm not going to show you the back because that will show you the pictures. And what I actually would like to do every evening for you, it opens with a ribbon, by the way, so we're going to open this now. It's all very exciting, isn't it? And inside you have lots of little books like this. See? If everyone can see that. And I am going to read you the Christmas story every evening. So, right. So the books come in these little sleeves. I don't know what any of them are because I haven't looked. Oh look, and today's one is Mickey's Christmas Carol. So look how pretty, guys. So yeah, I'm going to read you this. So let's pop that back in there. I can't do that, I'll do that in a minute. So, okay. So we've got Mickey's Christmas Carol. These books are so cute. Okay, so here's your pictures, and then I'll start reading. Right. It was Christmas Eve, and Ebenezer Scrooge was rushing through snowy London. Scrooge didn't like Christmas, and he didn't believe in helping the poor. He barged past carolers and wouldn't give a penny to anyone, even when Scrooge's nephew Fred stopped by his office shouting, "Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge." Scrooge kicked him out. Right, a while later, Scrooge's assistant, Bob Cratchit, stepped down from his stool to go home. "I suppose you'll be wanting tomorrow off," Scrooge barked, "but be here all the earlier the next day." "Thank you, Mr. Scrooge," cried Bob. "And Merry Christmas," he called as he went. "Bah, humbug," muttered Scrooge. He's so grumpy, isn't he? Anyone else know a grumpy person at Christmas? My dad's not the happiest person at Christmas. He thinks it's very, like, over the top. He enjoys it all for us, of course, but yeah, he's not really like that. He's not a Scrooge as in no money, but he's a Scrooge as in, yeah, it's just another day type thing. But I absolutely love Christmas, and Disney and Christmas. You can't get better. Anyway, on with the story. Later that night, Scrooge locked up his office and went home. As he went to open the front door, Scrooge took a closer look at his door knocker. He gasped. On the knocker was the face of his old business partner, Jacob Marley. The face began to move, then softly called, "Scrooge." Frightened, Scrooge raced inside, but soon enough the ghost of his former partner appeared in front of him, chains circling his body. "Tonight you will be visited by 3 spirits," boomed Marley. "Listen to them, do what they say, or your chains will be heavier than mine. Farewell, Ebenezer." So there you can see him, and there's the door knocker. And there you go. Spoiler alert, when Scrooge touches the door knocker, it makes a noise first, and he says, "Ouch." So, yep, there we go. Scrooge went to bed, but not long later he was awoken by a little figure in a top hat. "I am the ghost of Christmas past," he told Scrooge. "You must come with me." But Scrooge laughed. "Look how small you are. Go away." "Silence," ordered the spirit. "If men were measured by kindness, you would be smaller than a grain of sand. We are going back to a time when Christmas was not humbug." The spirit commanded Scrooge grab hold of his coattails, and remembering Marley's terrible warning, he held on. The windows flew open, and instantly they were soaring over rooftops and chimneys, the spirit's little umbrella keeping them aloft. So there you go. Got Scrooge telling him to go away down there, and Jiminy Cricket there. And then you've got Scrooge holding on very tightly to Jiminy Cricket's the tail end of his jacket. As you can see, a little red umbrella. Soon they landed outside a brightly lit house. Joyful Christmas music filled the air. Peering through the window, Scrooge couldn't believe his eyes. "Why, it's Isabel!" he cried, suddenly remembering the girl he had once loved. "But who's she dancing so merrily with?" That man was you, Scrooge," replied the spirit. "In the days when you two were kind and cheerful." Then the spirit whisked Scrooge away to another scene. Inside, Scrooge of many years before sat behind a desk covered in money. Isabel stood in front of him, tears in her eyes. "Why is Isabel crying?" asked Scrooge. Then he remembered he had taken Isabel's home from her when she could not pay her bills and refused to marry her. So there he is, dancing very happily with Isabel. And you've got all the people there dancing away. And here you've got Scrooge outside with Jiminy, and inside making Isabel cry, telling her he's going to foreclose her mortgage. Mean, mean man. Suddenly, Scrooge found himself back in bed. He thought it had been a dream, but then his thoughts turned to Isabel, and how his chance of happiness with her had been ruined by his love of money. Scrooge put his head down and sobbed into his pillow. Ah. As he cried, Scrooge felt a heavy hand on his shoulder. He sat up, and beside his bed was a fierce-looking giant, feasting. "I am the ghost of Christmas present," he boomed. "There's no time to lose." And with that, the spirit picked Scrooge up and put him in his pocket. He then pushed open the roof and stepped outside, as though from a doll's house. So there he is, and you can see all his food he's got surrounding him, and Scrooge looking all surprised. And you've got Scrooge pretending to be asleep. Right. Scrooge peeked out of the giant's pocket. "I wonder where we're going," he said to himself. Pulling Scrooge from his pocket, the spirit tore a lamppost from the ground to use as a lantern as he walked through the streets. Soon they arrived at a tiny run-down house. "What a dreadful little house," Scrooge exclaimed. "Who could live in such a place? Perhaps a miserable beggar." "Look closer, Scrooge, and tell me who you see," said the spirit. Scrooge pressed his face against the glass for a better look. "Why, it's Bob Cratchit, my clerk," he said with surprise. "Does he live here?" The spirit scowled. "Look at how he lives, thanks to your generosity. Look at the food his family must eat on Christmas Eve, because it's all they can afford." So you've got the giant here, picked up his lamppost to use as his torch. You can see it shining there. And then you've got Scrooge and the giant looking through the window, and Scrooge looking all sad at what he's done. The hungry Cratchit family sat at the table, about to carve up the smallest goose Scrooge had ever seen. Scrooge watched a boy named Tiny Tim hobble into the room, leaning on a little crutch. He gave thanks to Scrooge for the meal, and Scrooge felt ashamed. So he should. "Tell me, spirit, what's wrong with that kind lad?" asked Scrooge. "Much, I'm afraid," the spirit replied. "If these shadows remain unchanged, I see an empty chair where Tiny Tim once sat." Suddenly the scene went dark, and Scrooge was alone, church bells tolling in the distance. So you've got the Cratchit family there, little Tiny Tim down here, this little red crutch. They're all sitting around with hardly any dinner. And then look at the tiny little dinner they've got there. So you've got Bob Cratchit and little Tiny Tim offering Bob his pup his chicken leg, or I'm not sure what it is. little chicken leg. Just then, swirling smoke engulfed Scrooge, growing thicker and thicker until he couldn't see anything around him. The smoke blew into his nose and he coughed. As the smoke lifted, Scrooge found himself standing in a graveyard. There were tombstones everywhere, covered by snow. Scrooge looked up to find he was no longer alone. A horrible shadow, his face hidden inside a cloak, stood silently before him. "Are you the ghost of Christmas future?" stammered Scrooge. "Tell me, what will happen to Tiny Tim?" The spirit just looked at Scrooge, then raised his arm to point to something in the distance. So you've got Scrooge looking at a gravestone down there. And there you can see the ghost of Christmas future pointing at it. So yeah. Not sure what Scrooge has got in his hand. Oh no, I think it's just his nightshirt. Okay. Scrooge looked to where the spirit was pointing and saw Bob Cratchit and his family gathered around a tombstone. Bob knelt before a little gravestone, tears rolling down his face, and gently laid Tiny Tim's crutch on top. "Oh no," Scrooge cried. "Spirit, I didn't want this to happen. Tell me these events can yet be changed." Scrooge noticed 2 gravediggers finishing a fresh grave. "I've never seen a funeral like this," one of them said. "No mourners, no friends, no to bid him farewell." Scrooge peered into the grave and asked the spirit who it belonged to. "Why, it's yours, Ebenezer." The spirit laughed as his hood fell from his face. So you can see him there laughing about who's in the grave. And Scrooge looking all worried. And the ghost of future pointing. And then you've got a very sad little Bob Cratchit down there putting Tiny Tim's crutch on the grave. So there we go. "No, I'll change," cried Scrooge. The grave burst into flames and the spirit pushed him in. "Let me out!" screamed Scrooge. "Let me!" Suddenly a bell tolled, and as Scrooge opened his eyes, he cried with joy. He was back in his bedroom. "It's Christmas morning," he exclaimed. "I haven't missed it." He threw on his coat and hat and raced for the door. He ran out onto the street calling "Merry Christmas" to everyone he met. He gave 2 men a bag of coins each, who stood there speechless, wondering what had changed in grumpy old Scrooge. So there he is being pushed into the grave with all the fire. I can't even. Where's his? Oh, right, yeah, his head's right down there. I can even see it. and there he is, all waking up on Christmas morning under his green. I believe these are the curtain bits that surround his bed that he pulls down on top of himself. And then you've got there him giving the money. I think it's 100 gold pieces to the men. So, yep. Scrooge even stopped his nephew when he saw him approaching in a wagon. Fred was so surprised by his uncle's cheerfulness that he almost fell off his carriage. Waving goodbye to his nephew, Scrooge continued on his way to Bob Cratchit's house. Rat-tat! Scrooge knocked on the employee's door. Bob opened the door and his face fell when he saw who it was. "Why, Mr. Scrooge, Merry Christmas. Won't you come in?" he said. Scrooge stomped inside and dropped a heavy sack on the floor. Scrooge then broke into a massive smile and told Bob he was getting a pay rise and he bought food and toys for his family. So there he is, Scrooge meeting Fred, and Fred on his horse and carriage. They're both looking all happy. Scrooge with his cane and still got his slippers on. I love how he forgets to get dressed and goes back up and just grabs his hat. And then you've got Bob Cratchit at the door and Tiny Tim behind him, and then Scrooge at the door. Bob Cratchit couldn't believe it. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Scrooge. Merry Christmas, Bob," Scrooge said, as the whole family danced with joy. "It was a Christmas miracle, and God bless us, everyone," said Tiny Tim. So there you've got Mrs. Cratchit and Bob Cratchit, Scrooge and all the kiddies, and up here you've got Tiny Tim on Scrooge's head. And the little boy. No, that's not Tiny Tim, there's Tiny Tim, and he's got Scrooge's hat on. It's very cute. And that must be another. So Bob's obviously got 3 children. But how cute, and a tiny little Christmas tree in the background. And yeah, so that is the story of Mickey's Christmas Carol. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. As I say, I'm going to be doing this every day. I'm going to apologise now because some days I'm not going to be looking my best. However, I have got last year's gingerbread Mickey and Minnie ears on, which are really fab. So we've got Mickey here and Minnie with a little bow, polka dot bow. And I'm actually wearing it's a reindeer and glittery Mickey Mouse top. And I got this last year from Asda George. So I don't think they're doing this one this year. I think it's different. But I really like that one. I think it was £8 from George last year. So yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed that. And I shall see you all tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye bye.